Unlike other NBA superstars who often demand trades to good teams to make winning a championship easier, Trae actually requested a trade to the Washington Wizards. Yeah, the Washington Wizards, guys. The team that, as this script is being written, has only won 10 games out of 37 so far. Why would Trae ask to be moved to one of the weakest teams in the NBA, especially now when he's in his prime years? But if you think this move to the Wizards is strange enough, wait till you hear this. What do you think is the right price to get a superstar like Trae? An all-star plus 2 or 3 role players? Too expensive. Because it turns out, the Wizards only had to give up CJMC and Kickespert. Imagine, a player who has been a 4-time NBA All-Star, has a career average of 25 points and 10 assists per game, led the entire NBA in assists per game last season, and even has the 3rd highest assists per game average in NBA history. His price is equivalent to one starter who has never been an All-Star, plus one bench player. This is like trading gold for a skewer stick. They didn't even give up a single first-round pick. Yet, in recent years, we've often seen NBA teams get 3 to 4 first-round picks when they trade players below Trae's level. It doesn't stop there. This trade was also agreed upon in the middle of a game. Imagine, the Hawks were really willing to trade their franchise superstar of the last 7. 5 years in the middle of a game where he himself couldn't play due to injury. He couldn't do anything but laugh and say goodbye. And when the game was about to end, he just walked off the court without a final tribute or anything. Just like that, he was no longer part of the Atlanta Hawks. And do you still remember who the Hawks picked in the draft back then? Who would have thought that 8 years later, a Luka Doncic, in quotes, would turn into Shij McCallum and Corey Kispert?
But the question is, why is Trae at this point? Hasn't he always been the identity of the Hawks? He even took this team to the Eastern Conference Finals and made an entire city, New York, along with its mayor, go crazy because of how great he was. Was Trae involved in some problem that forced them to let him go, or has his performance declined lately, making the Hawks fed up? Actually, Trae didn't do anything wrong. Individually, his playing style and productivity are still as consistent as when we first saw him play for the Hawks. He hasn't changed, but the Hawks have. The Hawks finally felt that Trae wasn't the right person to lead them to a bright future. After reaching the Eastern Conference Finals in 2021, their results after the regular season ended have been the same for 4 consecutive years, stuck in the play-in zone. Even if they made the playoffs, the Hawks were immediately eliminated in the first round. And honestly, the Hawks had actually tried everything to maximize the Trae era. They gave Trae several veteran players who could cover his defensive weaknesses, and even another star player to accompany him throughout the season. But the results were still the same. The Hawks consistently became just a mediocre team. Not exactly great, but not terrible either. They were stuck in the middle, finding it hard to choose between contending for a championship or tanking and rebuilding. Because of all this, the Hawks finally chose not to offer Trae a contract extension heading into this season. This was indeed a sign that Trae's time with the Hawks was coming to an end. But before that happened, the Hawks seemed to want to test Trae one more time. This season, the Hawks could be said to have a serious roster. After successfully developing Dyson Daniel as the most improved player and a top-tier defender, they immediately recruited Dieng, Segis, Alexander Walker, and Luke Kennard. This season's Hawks squad could be considered the best in the Trae era, surpassing the 2021 squad. The main pillars in the Eastern Conference were crumbling due to injuries, so this was a big opportunity for Trae and the Hawks to become champions. But just as the door to a championship was wide open for a player like Trae, he had to fall early. At the start of last season, Trae was absent for 22 games due to injury. And before being traded, he was absent for 6 consecutive games. But what comes next will be the bitter reality Trae has to accept. When Trae recovered from his injury in mid-December last year, the Hawks always lost with him. 5 consecutive losses, to be precise. Overall, the Hawks' win-loss record with Trae this season was only 28-. Strangely, when Trae was absent and sitting nicely on the bench, the Hawks actually posted a positive win-loss record of 16-13. The conclusion is simple. The Hawks actually performed better without Trae. They have shifted their hearts to a new star player, Jalen Johnson. Over his 5 years with the Hawks, he has always improved over time. But this time, he has reached a much higher level. As of this video, Johnson is averaging 23.5 points, 10.3 rebounds, and 8.3 assists per game. Last December, he became the third player after Magic Johnson and Oscar Robertson to record 4 consecutive triple-doubles before turning 24. Johnson even almost recorded a quadruple-double with 31 points, 18 rebounds, 14 assists, and 7 steals against the Jazz. Johnson has proven he can be a playmaker as great as Trae. Moreover, he's taller and a better defender. On the other hand, Alexander Walker, who was supposed to be Trae's backup, is now having the best season of his NBA career while replacing him in the starting 5, 21.4 points, 3.7 rebounds, and 3.6 assists per game. He even once scored 38 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks, and 8 steals against the Spurs. Trae's role has essentially been taken over by those guys. The Hawks now believe that a playing strategy involving all players is far more effective than relying on one dominant player. This might also be the reason they took McCallum and Kispert, because they can each be productive without needing to handle the ball often. Even though their potential isn't small, why the Wizards compared to other teams? At first glance, this trade destination is strange. But what if it turns out both teams actually benefit? For the Hawks, aside from everything mentioned, this trade clearly makes their salary cap more flexible. Trae is still under a max contract, and next season, he has the player option to continue the remaining year of his contract worth $49 million US, around 825 billion Indonesian rupiah. Trae will definitely opt in for that much money. And since the Hawks want to start a new chapter, they had to let him go before the season ends. Finally, in the upcoming offseason, the Hawks can be more flexible in recruiting players that align with their philosophy. For the Wizards, they really need a star figure as a mentor for their young players. From Johnson, Alex Starr, Willar Coulibaly, the Wizards have many promising talents on their roster. Their defense is still considered poor, but at least the Wizards look more alive with Trae. Financially, the Wizards also have more than enough cap space for Trae next season. So, they have no problem if Trae takes that $49 million player option. They also have enough time to see if Trae can have a positive impact, both short-term and long-term, for them. But the Wizards still have one problem. In the upcoming NBA draft, they have a top 8 protected first-round pick. This means if the Wizards' draft position is not in the top 8, that pick will be lost and go to the New York Knicks. The Wizards might use various creative ways to keep Trae absent to continue tanking and retain that pick.